from all of you guys and sharing and all that kind of good stuff. The name of this meetup and the group we have behind it is All Things WordPress. You go to allthingswordpress.com. We have a Facebook group, a LinkedIn group, a Google Plus community, lots of ways you can ask questions and get help on off days when we're not meeting up. If you need help with anything. We'll also post the slides, and Susanna's recording a video, so if you want to come back and watch this later.
Woo! You're all on film.
Yeah. I think she's putting that through Periscope. You'll be able to get that there as well. So keep an eye on that. We have a wonderful new sponsor the last couple months, ClickHost. So Carl's going to come up and tell you a little bit about them.
Yep, there we go. Thank you, everybody. We love sponsoring WordCamp and meetups, and Mickey and Ali and the crew, they've always been really good friends to us and actually helped us design our first clickhost.com WordPress site a long time ago. So just love supporting this group. You guys can read that. Our hosting is very fast. Mickey tells me all the time he knows when he's FTPing to our stuff because it's very fast. One thing, if you're a web designer, we have a really good affiliate program. We pay 20% ongoing if you refer your clients to us. And we love WordPress, so your stuff will run very fast if you host WordPress. We usually have lunch available as we start. Unfortunately, it's running a little bit late, but it's worth the wait. It's Tom and Chi sandwiches and salads and awesome gooey donuts. It should come in about 30 minutes, so it will be in the back. And then we'll have a drawing. Stefan will walk around with the bowl for 1 year of free hosting with us, and a Tom and cheese sandwich. Thank you.
We'll pull the cards at the end, so make sure Stefan gets here.
So where do the cards go?
The big green bowl coming around. Stefan will get up to you in a minute. Yes, put in a whole bunch of them.
A whole bunch of them.
Tomorrow, downtown or midtown or wherever it is web afternoon. Anybody going? Woo! A few people. Did anybody want to go, but it's sold out now and couldn't get a ticket? All right, Will, one person, because we have an extra ticket. So, all right, we'll look Will up and take care of that to get him there tomorrow with y'all. So, good group though, or good event they do every year, all afternoon, talking about UX and web design. Lots of good speakers coming in and stuff. So, it is sold out this year, so you can't go at this point, but keep an eye on for next year. Neat event. Upcoming meetups, Diana and Aaron. Next week, actually, because we're a week late, we're going to be back-to-back weeks. But in this room, next Thursday, same time, talking about PHP and WordPress Part 1. They're going to do a whole series on writing code in PHP for WordPress. So if you're more developer-heavy, it would be a great group. Diana and Aaron in the back there can tell you more about it if you have questions. But just kind of, if you're wondering about how to write PHP code and plugins and all that kind of stuff, that'll be a great way to start learning. Kathy Druin's meetup, I know a lot of you have been to hers. Her next one is in 2 weeks, September 10th in the evening over at the Cobb Government Center near Mount Bethel Church on Lower Roswell Road. Talking about an introduction to WooCommerce. So if you want to use e-commerce on your site, she'll be walking through that, a very beginner level, kind of getting started and how it works and putting things together. Kathy's not here today. If you're friends with her on Facebook or Twitter, she has a brand new granddaughter, Delta. So she's thankfully not here because she's getting to spend time with her. So that's awesome for her. But yeah, in 2 weeks is her meetup, and you can sign up for that. Our next one in 3 weeks, September 17th, we're going to talk about Google Search Console. It used to be called Webmaster Tools, and then controlling spam and analytics. Really, if you have a website or you work on websites, you should be hopefully familiar with Search Console. If not, this will be a perfect time to see what it's about. It's really Google's third-party view of your site. Analytics is what's happening on your site. Search Console is Google saying, well, it looks good, we're having problems getting to those 2 pages, and that one looks like it might be hacked, and it's kind of a high-level view of what's going on. It's something you should be keeping an eye on all the time. So we'll show you how that works, how to get it set up, and a little more hands-on, get you connected with that. And then there's so much of that affiliate spam stuff, or referral spam, excuse me, in analytics lately. We've blogged about it a bit. Judy Knight mentioned in her newsletter yesterday, but we'll do some hands-on with that too, to get your Google Analytics cleaned up a little better to make it more useful for you. So that's up on our meetup page. You can go RSVP for that one in 3 weeks. And that's about all the news we have. So we have a lot of MailChimp stuff to hit, so we'll dive in. So email marketing and MailChimp. At Greenmelon, we're experts at building websites and at WordPress, and we try our best at email marketing. So We'll give you all of our best practices. That is not our core strength. So if you have other thoughts or things we missed, certainly chime in, ask questions, give suggestions along the way. We can all learn this stuff together. The first question, of course, is why email? You know, everyone talks, when on social media we have SEO, email is so 1995, and it feels that way sometimes, but really it's not. I think the quick test is a show of hands if you've checked your email in the last 24 hours. Is everybody. I mean, we're all still using it a ton. It's very effective. We'll dig into some of the stats behind it, but it really can work well. Here's a chart showing customer acquisition by channel, and organic search is much higher by this chart. But if you look, Facebook and Twitter compared to email, and it's going up. You know, it's very effective if you do it the right way. We'll talk about some of the best practices in acquiring customers and stuff, but it really can work. Another thing we'll get into a little bit more is email is read on the phone. I mean, people check their email on the phone more than anywhere. This chart is a 24-hour day. Where do people check mail? Which device? In the mornings, they get on their smartphone a lot. As they get to work, it's down a little bit, but all day long, people check email on their smartphone more than on tablets or desktops. And so, as you write email campaigns, you need to keep that in mind. It needs to work well on smartphones. It's massive. You know, again, we've talked about everyone uses emails. 3.2 billion addresses. If you send out an email, it has a much longer lifespan than social media. They say a tweet has a half-life of like 14 minutes. A Facebook post maybe 90 minutes. An email that you send out, in theory, is going to sit there and be read whenever they can get around to it, whether it's tomorrow or the next day or whenever, whereas social media, if they're not there then, it's going to disappear. In email marketing, a number of stats show, and I do find this a little hard to believe, but in ROI, I saw this in a number of reputable places, 4,300%. For every dollar you spend on email marketing, if you do it right, you'll get $43 in business back. So certainly some good returns on it if you do it the right way. And again, we'll talk about how to do it the right way, how to be effective, that kind of stuff. A lot of services out there to use. As you saw in the title, we're going to talk about MailChimp, but certainly a lot of good ones out there. Constant Contact, Aweber, Emma. Saw someone mention Silverpop. What else do y'all like to use for email? Not on that list. Mad Mimi. Why?
It's cheap. It's very easy to use.
Okay.
For new clients, it's a little more intuitive than MailChimp.
Okay, cool. What else?
Mad Mimi.
Yeah, Mad Mimi was that one.
Eye contact.
Eye Contact. Any reason why over the others?
Because my client chose.
Okay.
Not me.
That's how we do a lot of it. Yeah, we end up using it. That's what the client has. You want to work with it. So I don't know if there's anything that drew you in that it has features or prices or anything. But
There's Feed Blitz, too.
there's what's that? Oh, Feed Blitz. Yeah, for more automated kind of stuff. I think for the most part. But yeah, MailChimp can do some of that. We'll get into it in a bit. But yeah, so lots of options out there. Our favorite by far is MailChimp. There's certainly advantages and disadvantages different ways. We'll talk about some of that. The main reasons we like MailChimp is it's free to an extent. For most of you, if you start a list today, it's going to be free. I think you get up to 2,000 subscribers on your list and 12,000 sends every month without having to pay a penny, which is brilliant. The other ones aren't expensive, but it's a lot more than free. Some of the things we get into will require paid plans, but their paid plans start at $10 a month, so not a big deal. I find it pretty slick and easy. I mean, they have a good interface. You can argue certainly others are better, but I think certainly compared to Constant Contact and others, their interface is much, much better and easier to use. We'll go into that. And it's powerful. They add a lot of new features over the years. It's certainly not like a HubSpot or Infusionsoft or any of those in terms of power, but there's a lot you can do in there. We're going to dig into some of that. So that's why we like MailChimp. Most today will be focused on MailChimp, but hopefully whatever you use, you can pick a lot of these tips and use that on your own for those. A few best practices to get into. Adding emails to your list. This is a popular way to do it that you should never do. adding emails from business cards. You know you've been added that way before by other companies because you've met them at a trade show and they added you to your list. You should not be doing that. I've traded business cards with a lot of you in here, and none of you are on our list as a result of that. You're on our list if you opt into our list. That's how it should be. It does make it tough to grow your list the right way. It can be frustrating to say, I want to get 1,000 new subscribers, and doing it the right way takes time, and yes, it takes time. We'll talk some tips and ideas on that, but doing it right takes time, and that's why the ROI can be so good. If you get people on there the right way, they'll stick around, they'll be engaged, make it work well. One little tip, and we'll look at some of these later, is just having little pop-ups on your site of things that opt in. Like in our case, we have this tucked down in the corner. There's certainly a line between being obtrusive and effective and being less effective but less obtrusive. We kind of go for the less effective, less obtrusive in the corner. But asking for people's email address. I mean, that's kind of the easy way to do it. We have, I don't even remember what plugin we use for that. Ashley?
Scroll boxes, maybe?
Yes, Dream Grow Scroll Box.
Yeah.
Dream Grow Scroll Box. If people scroll down the page, I think halfway, then it'll pop up in the corner. If you want more of the traditional kind of pop-ups that, again, we typically find annoying but statistically work wonderfully well, Opt-in Monster is a great plugin for that. Others that you guys like for collecting pop-up kind of stuff? Addiact? Haddiact, okay.
What was the first one you said?
Dream Grow
Scrollbox.
Scrollbox, yeah, something that Ashley can look it up and see for sure. But yeah, that you can put anything. It's a little more code heavy, more customizable too, but not as easy to use. Whereas Opt-in Monster is really pretty simple, just to pop things in.
What was the other one she said? Patio?
Are these, is Opt-in Monster a free version?
Opt-in Monster, I think, has a free version, yeah, and then has paid stuff beyond that. But it's incredibly popular. We can get into more of those too, but. I mean, there's some best practices, and we'll dig into more best practices as we go. I think most of today, though, I want to spend on execution. How to do things, the features in there, how to add things to your site, stuff like that. And again, all the screenshots and stuff we show are MailChimp, but other services have similar features as we go through. The first step in any of these, set up a list. Of course, you need to have a list on your site or multiple lists. The weird thing with MailChimp, if you've not used it before, Constant Contact, you set up multiple lists and say, I want to send this email to these 3 lists, and you'll combine them all and filter out the duplicates. MailChimp, you can only send to one list at a time. You can create groups inside of the lists. So a lot of times you want to have a list called, our clients or whatever, and inside of there have groups for what they did, and you can send to a group inside of a list, as opposed to sending to multiple lists. I know it can get a little confusing. For the most part, it doesn't matter. You build a list, collect it, and go. But just be aware of MailChimp, you set up a bunch of different separate lists, it's hard to put it back together. And they'll walk you through some of that. They even talk as you go to create one. They say, here's how to do it. You can read what are groups and get that going. When you create your list, it's pretty straightforward. I won't spend a lot of time here. I mean, you give it a list name for yourself that will show up depending how you use it for people to see. So be nice with your naming. Your from email address, we'll talk about that later. From name, a reminder how people signed up. I'll click this sometimes. If I get an email I don't know, I'm like, I don't think I signed up. I'll click that reminder. If it doesn't convince me I was legit, I'll mark it as spam. So give them a good reason why. And then contact info at the bottom. If you're going to be legitimately sending emails through any of these services, you have to provide your actual contact info in the emails to be legit. So creating a list in and of itself is pretty easy. Adding it to your site in MailChimp, when you go to add it to your site, if you're in MailChimp, you go to your lists. You'll see all the different lists you have. Click one, click on sign up forms, and here's all the sign up forms you can build. Typically what you'll do with MailChimp is the embedded forms. You want to just put a form on your contact page, in your sidebar, in your footer, wherever you want to put a form. You can do things with the other forms. If you don't use WordPress or use something that's harder to add code to, you can do a general form. We just have a link directly to MailChimp. People can sign up. But for most of us, embedded forms is what we'll want. So if you were to click on, I want an embedded form, and again, we've already chosen the list. We want an embedded form for it. It gives you quite a few options here on what you want to do. You want to put a title at the top. You want to show all the fields. You want to show these other ones. You want to put in a width. There's more options down here about JavaScript. It'll show you an example of what it looks like, and then it gives you the code. If you use WordPress much, you can just embed this into a page, embed it into a widget, embed this code wherever you want. It may look a little funny depending on what's going on. There's plugins that'll help with that. We'll talk about it in a bit. But they make it pretty easy. And this is kind of where Constant Contact falls apart for me. This is a pretty basic feature, and Constant Contact makes it very, very difficult to just add a little form to your site. So one of the reasons we like MailChimp is they have things like this, very easy to use. Again, there are plugins that can help you with that. MailChimp has an official plugin for WordPress. They update it frequently. It's pretty simple. It does a good job. It's completely free to use. Free service, free plugin. I mean, they're a great thing to use there. Lots of others in the repository. I think there were 377 when I looked earlier this week that had the word MailChimp in them. So tons of stuff to choose from. Some good, I'm sure some very bad. Any in particular y'all always use for stuff?
Use MailChimp Lite.
Okay.
And it's always been something that I really like.
Okay, what does that do?
I actually talked to the MailChimp guys too when I went to one of the WordCamps, and they said they liked that one because they are in contact with them.
Gotcha, okay.
I got it, so that was handy. It just didn't offer as many things, but it was great for my clients to just be, here's what you gotta do, not
Gotcha.
a whole lot of options.
Okay, MailChimp Lite was the name of that one.
L-I-T-E?
I assume L-I-T-E?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. MailChimp Lite. Others?
Maybe use your screen bright, or is it just?
It's the projector. That's why we keep the lights down to try to, yeah. Yeah, they need to, yeah. It's the best we can do in here.
We're gonna put a jar out so people can contribute to the buy at a library and need projector.
Yeah, there you go. And we'll have the slides up in the video and stuff later, but yeah, we try to balance the lights to do the best we can with it. Other plugins y'all like?
Balloon is really good.
Which one?
Balloon,
Balloon, okay. What does that do?
it's a sign up form.
Okay.
In MailChimp that we do several other providers by elegant themes.
Okay, cool. Balloon is that one. So yeah, there's, and again, 375 others now to choose from. To some degree, I try to avoid using plugins for things like this. Oh, go ahead.
If you use a plugin, does it automatically put the code where it needs to go?
No, the plugins will do it different ways. Some will create widgets that you can then drag the widget in and connect. Some will do short codes and build it in the plugin and put a short code on your site. Different ways. You'll still have to set it up each one and then add it to your site. We'll make it a little bit easier and do some of the magic stuff behind the scenes.
There's also a tool called MailChimp Sync,
Okay.
which if you have a membership site, will keep your MailChimp list and your users synced.
Okay, there you go. That's,
They
yeah.
get deleted on one place, they get deleted the other place.
The MailChimp Sync. So yeah, so if you have a member, oh, is it on? Did I make that? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's MailChimp Sync right there. So if you have a membership site and you want to be able to email your members but don't want to do it through your server because there can be some pitfalls there, that'll keep your membership list synced with MailChimp so you can email all your members through MailChimp and have the advantages of doing that without taxing your server. So that's pretty cool too. What I was starting to say though is we often will try to avoid plugins when possible, just because the fewer plugins on your site, the better. You can use the code in the previous page, you know, if you want. We'll do the same thing with Google Analytics. Sometimes there's good plugins for that. You can put the code in yourself. But you have to decide if it has great features, like the sync feature is awesome. Use the plugin. If you want to do it manually though and save yourself one fewer plugin on your site to make your site load that much faster, there's always that angle too. So.
Are these all WordPress plugins?
Yeah, these are all, yeah, everything here, sorry, yes, is all WordPress plugins. And again, going back to the code, that code will work on any kind of site in theory. If you get the code from MailChimp, you can load that on any kind of website you want, WordPress or Joomla or regular HTML, or theoretically work on anything.
Okay.
And I'm sure Joomla and other platforms have some extensions for MailChimp. I have no idea, but I would think so. But yeah, so that you can use with anything, and then if you use WordPress, there are a variety of good plugins for that. They have a new feature Susanna told me about a couple weeks ago. I don't know how new it is, but you can text to join a list. And so if you want to try to join our monthly one, you can text GMM to 33733. But
You should all do that now to test it.
there you go. Everybody test it for us. Enjoy it. But it's kind of cool though. You text it and it'll reply back and say, "Oh, what's your email address?" And you put in your email address and it adds you to the list. So it's a kind of a cool feature. There's a number of providers that do it. MailChimp, I don't believe, does it natively. They work with different providers. Tatango I like best just because it was free. I think you can do 250 signups a month for free. It's a little wonky to set up, but they have some good video tutorials to help. The one catch with it is because it texts you and asks for your email address, that's all they ask for. If your list requires they have to have a first name or something else, you can't use this feature. Your list can only require email addresses to use the text feature. But still, it's kind of cool, depending on your, we have it set up for us for fun, but it doesn't really apply too much. But in different circumstances, it could be very useful. If you're in a situation where people aren't on your site a lot or whatever, could work quite well. Sending messages. Again, using MailChimp specifically. Again, other services will follow similar routes. If you're going to create campaign, you get a variety of options, and we'll look at a few of these as we go through. Most of the time, I don't know, 99% of the time, you'll probably just choose a regular campaign. If you want to send a message to your list, it's time to send it, your monthly message, regular campaign, let's go send it. Once you go in there, there's different ways to send. You can pick one of their basic themes or basic templates, one of their themes. You can save your own. You can look at past campaigns or code your own. And we'll go through some of those to see what they've got. Their basic ones, they give you quite a few options. This scrolls down a good ways just to get you started with one column or one column with an extra band through it, or two columns and 1, 2, and 1 going down. Lots of different configurations of how you want it laid out as you go through. If you go to their themes, they give you some good-looking themes that already have some color and some life to them to start with. If you're not the designer type and want to have something that looks good out of the box to start with, you can go with their themes and go there. You can save custom templates. So we have different templates for a newsletter template with a testimonial, a regular newsletter template, and then a basic template we can use for different things. If we want to send out another message, we're not starting from scratch every time, dragging things in and setting it all up. We can save templates in there. We'll skip the campaigns because that's just showing your past stuff. You can code your own. You can paste in code. If you have a zip file, you import it, or from a URL. usually you would paste in code. If you want to sit and write HTML to make your email exactly the way you want, which I see some heads shaking that you never want to do that, and that's fine. They do offer that though, and it's kind of nice. And their setup for it's pretty slick. As you paste in your code, it color codes your code for you so you can kind of see what's going on. Gives you a preview of what the email looks like. Really, they do a nice job compared to some of the others. Like we've been working with Emma a little bit, which Microsoft bought and I guess ran into the ground. But it requires that you use tables and nested tables, and you can code your own, but it's horrible. So MailChimp, I think, does a very nice job of that. Again, as we look at different services, you know, there's different advantages, different ways. MailChimp seems to be about the best for most everything. So we don't code our own like that all the time, but if we do, they have a good way they handle it.
We also didn't design that.
Yeah, we didn't design that one either yet. Allie wanted to mention the designer. Yeah. Someone else designed it, we had to code it for them, so we put it together. So if we go back and we were to click on the standard campaign, back a few slides, we did basic campaigns there. This is just an example of some of the options. If you use MailChimp, you've seen this. We don't need to spend a lot of time in here going through it, but you have your email you're building on the left and all the options on the right. You have text boxes and images and image cards and social icons, and again, this is where I talk about a slick and easy interface. It really is pretty easy just to drag stuff over and make changes and kind of build it out the way you want. It's a good interface. Makes it easy to build and test and see what you want and go from there. We also mentioned under Create Campaign, your regular campaigns are all in there. And I'm going kind of fast. If any of you have specific, you want to look at stuff afterwards, we can do some live work to play with things. But under campaigns, you can do an RSS campaign. I'm going to jump down to there. So RSS, for those of you not familiar with it, is basically the feed from a site, usually a blog. A blog feed is an RSS feed. If you use Feedly or you use Google Reader, it's a good way to collect a bunch of feeds in one place. And all of your WordPress sites, whether you know it or not, have an RSS feed. If you don't have any blog posts, it's an empty feed, but it's all there anyhow. And MailChimp has some cool tools to take advantage of that and automatically send emails out when you post new blog entries. So if we were to click RSS-driven campaign, it says, what's the feed of your site? And if you have a WordPress site, it's your site name /feed. That's in any WordPress site, that's the RSS feed for your site. So you say, okay, grab my feed there, and they'll only send it if you have new content. They won't send it every day if there's nothing. But if there's new content, send it every day at 4 a.m. or every week at 3 p.m. on Tuesday. Or you can choose what's going on. You can even say only send on these days. You know, don't send it on the weekend if you think that's not going to work well. You know, Monday through Friday at 4 a.m. If I have a new post, send it. You know, it takes a little config to set up, but then it just works. You post a new blog entry, MailChimp gets the feed, and then they respond accordingly. If there's new content, it matches the rules, they send it an email. And from here, once you have your campaign set up, you can add people to it using the stuff we looked at earlier. You can set up a form and embed it on your site, or an RSS, or excuse me, a text message campaign, or one of the plugins. Works just the same where people sign up for it, but instead of you having to go send a message all the time, it'll send it out from your blog. We haven't used that. Certainly could. I appreciate other sites that do. We'll do our monthly newsletter and include some of our favorite blog posts in there manually, so we're not pounding people with posts too often. But depending on your audience and your posting frequency, it's a great feature to have. There are other feeds in WordPress. Not only can you /feed on your homepage to get a feed, but any category you go to, like we have an SEO category, so Green Mail Media /category/SEO blog, put feed at the end, that's a feed of that category. You can put that and say, sign up to get all of our SEO posts by email, and we can put that feed into it. Or you can do it a tag. You use tag, maybe a tag called WordPress tag. Long story there, but /tag/WordPress tag/feed, that'll be a feed of all of our blog posts that use that tag. You could use that in MailChimp. I do an author. If you go to /author/Allie, that's all of her posts. Throw feed on the end, that's a feed of every post that Allie writes. So WordPress has all this stuff built in automatically. If you go to your site and pull up a category or a tag page or an author page and put /feed at the end, it all works. It's kind of slick. Not only for that, but if you're browsing other sites and you use Feedly or other feed readers to follow and say, I only want to follow their WordPress stuff. I don't want to follow this whole big site. You can grab those kind of individual feeds that they might not even know they have, but kind of slick. There are other ways to accomplish this outside of MailChimp. Jetpack's probably the easiest one for those of you that came last month and saw the Jetpack guy talk. There's subscription settings you can turn on in Jetpack if you're already using it. When people leave a comment, they'll have 2 checkboxes below you can turn on to say follow this blog, which will sign them up to get new blog posts by email every time. And follow comments, which is unrelated to everything we're talking about, but I love when other sites have this. This will be if someone leaves a comment and they check that box, if someone else leaves a comment, they'll be notified of it. They'll say, hey, Frank just replied to your comment. As a user of other sites, I love that. I love when I leave a comment I can know if someone replies to me and keep the conversation going if they have that checkbox. If the other site doesn't have that box, then Frank may come by and leave another comment, but I'll never know because I have other things to do. So that's kind of nice too. And the way it works also, people can do that on comments, or it creates a little widget for you. You can drop to the sidebar, say, hey, get all of our new posts by email, again, through Jetpack. Works very similar to the MailChimp piece, but you don't need to set up MailChimp just for that if you have Jetpack installed. So that's that. Any questions on that stuff?
Yeah.
Sure.
About these posts. So if you sign up to have these posts automatically sent to your list, is there some kind of template that the post surrounds? Like,
I think by default it's pretty
post, or is it just show up in there?
Gotcha. I think by default it's pretty bare bones. I haven't tried to customize that before. Have any of you done that with the RSS? So none of us. We've not actually done it. Carl, have you?
Yeah, you can customize it, and it's nice because you can say the current post, and then at the bottom you can say previous posts. So you can customize it like any.
Okay, there you go.
So somebody sent me an email, and the email's just going to say our latest post, or
No,
You can put a title, and you can use tags, merge tags in your title.
use a theme or layout.
Can you publish just a snippet or the full post?
Okay.
And the snippet versus pull, I believe, is defined by WordPress, not MailChimp, right?
Yeah, MailChimp has merge tags that lets you set
Which piece? Okay, gotcha.
And the content is determined by WordPress.
Right, yeah, gotcha. So yeah, in your WordPress settings, you can choose, in my RSS feed, do you want to show the full post or just a snippet? And that'll affect what gets fed into MailChimp then based on that. So, good questions. Any others? Cool, well let's move on here. Automation, so back to this little guy in the corner of our site we got there. We set that up as a way to test automation. HubSpot and others really handle this a little bit better than MailChimp, but MailChimp, you have to pay for it. It's like 1% of the cost of HubSpot. You can do this for $10 a month. HubSpot, their decent packages like $800 a month. So this is, I don't mind that HubSpot does it a little bit better when this does pretty well. But really, the way MailChimp does it is brilliant. It's really easy to set up. We'll walk through it quickly. Once you dig into it, you're like, wow, this is nothing to set up. The challenge is, if you want an automated campaign that sends these series of emails, is you have to sit and write a series of emails. And that's 95% of your work there, is writing all this content, coming up with it, and getting it set up. MailChimp then makes sending it pretty easy, and we'll walk through that. So in our case, this is climbing to the top of Google. We've done meetups on that before. It's 6 emails about ranking better in Google, sent every other day for 12 days. We figured that'd be kind of good, give you some tips for a couple weeks to go. So if you go to our site and scroll down, the thing pops up. But I'll show you how we set it up in the back end of MailChimp. And again, you do have to have a paid membership for this, which I think it starts at $10 a month. I'm trying to remember what the threshold is. I think up to 500 users on your list is $10 a month. We pay like $15 a month. I mean, it's not much. But to be able to access the automation, you have to pay a little bit. In our case, if you click on that, we built a little landing page that we embedded a little MailChimp form saying, hey, they can sign up for our list here. And a page that explains what they get, just a standard landing page to try to tell people what they're going to get before they get it, so hopefully they won't unsubscribe, and you only get people that want what you're going to get before they start getting it. But yeah, you sign up there. The back of MailChimp, as you set up your automation, you basically say, here's the different emails I want to send, and you set them up just like other emails. You have your templates and layouts and pieces you can drag in and add your text. You say, I want to send these emails in this order, and I know it's hard to see underneath in between, but it says, trigger this workflow when the following conditions are met. If people subscribe to or are imported to this list. So this workflow starts automatically if anyone joins the list. That's all they have to do, and it kicks off. And so immediately after it's triggered, so immediately after they join the list, send this message. So I built this campaign and put in our content and said send that one. And then I say 2 days after we send that one, send this one. And there's another one I set up manually and added all our content to and did. 2 days after that one's done, send this one. And it just kind of goes down through 6 emails and sends them all. Again, they make it really easy to do. Aweber is another one that I think does it a little bit better even. Their interface is a little wonkier. HubSpot, again, certainly does, but they make it really easy, and for $10 a month, it's hard to beat. As you go, the in-between options are kind of the key to this, the automation, where you're not having to touch it. For those that have not dealt with this before, the difference is, if you say, I want to send out these 6 emails, you could go manually send it to your whole list every other day. The key here is no matter when someone signs up, they'll start getting it automatically. You're not having to send batches out. Yeah, so if you sign up today, you'll get the one today. If Frank signs up next week, he'll get the first one next week and every other day after that. Whenever they sign up, they'll then start the process. So it's kind of nice. You'll be sending all these emails out at various times depending when people signed up. It's really, really quite slick. And in between each option, they have not a lot of options to it. But you can say, okay, I want to wait how long in between. So we chose 2 days. After the previous email is what? In our case, we said sent. You could say wait 2 days after they open the last one. So if they wait a couple days to open it, then when they open it, then we'll count 2 more days and send the next one. Or when they clicked on something in it, wait till that. Or an API request. You can get into more development kind of stuff to really, really check that out. They even have pieces you can add to your website, almost like Google Analytics, that'll kind of track your whole site and say, if they're in one of these emails and they go to our site and then they go to this page, then trigger this other email campaign to go out. We've not gotten into that too much. I think it's kind of edge cases for that. I don't want to be sending emails based on where they are on our site, but it could be useful, But in our case, again, it's pretty easy. Wait 2 days after the last one was sent, send the next one. You can go for each email in the chain and set it up that way. That's really all there is to that. Other questions about automation, Drip? Yeah. Oh, Carl, your friend's here. We have food at the back. When they get set up, we can enjoy some Tom and cheese in a few minutes here, too. Little donut things with cheese on it are weird, but they're awesome. So we'll go through a few more slides here. Getting results. There are a lot of tips and tricks out there about email marketing. Again, we're very confident in everything we tell you about websites. We're fairly confident in what we tell you on email. So some of these will apply to you, some you may disagree with. Please speak up if you have other thoughts on, yeah.
I have a question on automation.
Sure.
If I got 6 emails every 2 days, I would get click, delete 5 of them.
Okay, maybe you would, yeah.
And most of the people I deal with too.
Okay.
So are there any statistics showing that? I mean, I understand doing a follow-up.
Right.
And that's right. But are there any statistics showing about really how many should be almost in?
Okay, so she's asking, she's saying if she were to get this every other day for 6 days, she'd get tired of it. And that may be a lot. In our case, that's intentional. We say you're going to get this for 2 weeks worth of emails. We're going to get your SEO rocking in 6 days. And so hopefully they're expecting that. If I sign up for a normal mailing list, they sent me one every other day. That's a lot.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that some in a little bit, but it varies a lot from industry to industry. We send our main green bell ones once a month. We figure that's plenty just to say, here's what's new with Google, here's what's new with WordPress, here's what we've done lately. You don't need to hear from us more often. Whereas others, maybe you do. If you have other deals and specials, or like a Tom and Cheat or something that may have specials every Tuesday, they want to send emails out. There's not really a best practice, but yeah, frequency, we'll talk about later. Frequency of emails is the top reason people unsubscribe. They get too many, that's why they quit. So content and other stuff play into it, but too many is, by far the worst thing. So in our case, we try to make it very clear what you're going to be getting. We even say, here's the 6 emails you're going to get, sign up, and so hopefully they'll want it. But yes, great question. We'll dig into that a bit more as we go. So again, lots of random tips here. Some will apply to you, some won't. If you disagree, please raise your hand. I'd love to chat about it because we may be wrong too, but yeah, we'll just go through some of these. One tip, and this applies to websites as much as anything, talk to one person. When you send an email, don't say, welcome all of you. I'm not all of me, I'm Nikki. Send an email talking to your audience, to that person. Hey Allie, here's some great design tips for the week. And same on the website. You want to be talking to a person, the voice of speaking to a single person. And that kind of plays into the subject line and the whole content of your message. But yeah, use that to the extent possible. When you can, use your actual name as a from address. So we've dealt with that. We still send ours as Green Melon Media, but maybe we should send it as Allie. You can play with that. But the more often you can be personable, it'll tend to help with open rates. And again, just you're talking one-on-one, be who you are. Promise something good to them. You want to give them a reason to open. We all get tons of emails. You want a reason to open, but don't say the word free. That's what people are tired of seeing that. If they see free, they think, something's up here. It's this scam, spam, garbage. So you want to give them a good reason to open, and it can be a challenge to write a good subject line. I'm not a copywriter. That's why we hire copywriters to do this kind of stuff for us, because there are people that are awesome at that. But having a good, clear subject line that offers a good reason to open it without sounding too cheesy is certainly an important tip to have. Use a number if you can. You see a lot of those come out, and they're almost getting overplayed, but the top 11 ways to do such and such, people want to read. The top 10 ways to this, the top 5 reasons your website's not ranking well in Google. Those kind of things can work. I wouldn't do it every time, but we'll talk about ways to measure your success. Try some of those, see what happens, see if it works, see if it doesn't work, and go better. But as a general rule, using the top whatever ways to do something seems to work pretty well. Don't be too clever. Again, we all have very full inboxes. You want to be cute sometimes, that's fine, but still tell people what they're getting. If they don't understand what your subject is, they may just kind of skim by and get back to their other stuff. And again, all this stuff, there's testing. We'll show tools in a few minutes where you can test clever versus direct and see what works for you. Your audience may be different. But as a general rule, cleverness is trumped by just being direct in terms of getting people to open your message and see what's going on. Keep it short. And I say usually, those of you that follow our meetup page, it may see all the discussion Frank started with the New York Times email. That was not a short email, but it gets incredibly high open rates because people know inside of it is a ton of great info. So short messages are usually good, but if people expect more, like the New York Times one, people know that it's going to be great content, so they get huge open rates for it. Another example, I subscribe to a service called Link Moses. It's a guy that talks about SEO stuff. He charges like $8 a month to be on his mailing list. Yeah, I see Emery nodding his head. He knows. Yeah. But I expect I'm paying $8 a month for one email. It better be a full, email with lots of good stuff in it. So keep it short. Usually get to the point, but again, depending what you're offering, depending who your audience is, it's all different things for different folks. So play to your audience and test and see the measurements, and we'll look at that in a minute too. Be consistent. I asked in the RSVP for this meetup, how often do you send out newsletters? And some of the answers I got were not often, inconsistent, theoretically once a month, used to do monthly, plan to send one per month, actually one every 3 months. One said one a month, maybe. Yeah, there you go. That's you. Infrequently, regrettably very seldom, and almost never. And we struggle with this too. It's tough to be consistent, but it's important. I know that every Wednesday morning I'm going to get an email from Judy Knight from her newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to that, it's a great little newsletter. Every Wednesday, and I don't know how she does it, she does not miss a week, and they're great newsletters. If you follow Seth Godin, he sends out one every single day. It's very consistent. I know I can count on it. So the more consistent you can be, the better. We said that's part of the reason we send ours out monthly. Because it's hard enough to do that even, but we want to at least be able to be consistent. If we say weekly and then do week, skip, week, skip, it's not as good. We can hit once a month. So try to pick a time frame you can be consistent with. That said, pace carefully. We talked about this already a little bit. You want to be consistent. Seth Godin, I get one every day, and that's okay because his are short. But if I sign up for your list and I get one every day, I'm probably going to leave. So you want to be very careful. It's by far the top reason statistically that people unsubscribe is they get too many emails. So play with that carefully. And again, do some testing, see what works. But yeah, pace carefully. Follow the rules. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Don't just add business cards to your list. Make it easier for people to unsubscribe, which in any of these services you don't have a choice. They're going to make it easy to unsubscribe, which is great. But they're hardcore about cheaters, and for good reason. Constant Contact and MailChimp and all of them have good relationships with Google and Yahoo and the mail provider saying, hey, if people send from our server, we've vetted them, we know they're clean. So if you cheat, Constant Contact or MailChimp is going to lock down your account and get you on the phone and say, what are you doing adding these people? We don't want you around anymore. They want to make sure you're following the rules so that it works better for all of us. Similar to web hosts, I know Carl, they don't allow certain kinds of sites on their servers because that can make the whole server look bad. And so they, you still want to be in a good neighborhood with these companies as well. And then from your case, from a personal standpoint, you don't want to build a big list and then have it all taken away because you cheated. So just do things the right way. It is slow, it's kind of painful to grow, but follow the rules, it'll work out better in the long run. Watch your stats. This is what we've alluded to a little bit already. MailChimp, all of them, you do great stats on every message you send. Almost too good of stats. And you see open rates and click rates, and how many bounce, how many unsubscribe, how many are marked as spam. On the clicks, you can click through on the clicks and see what was clicked on. You can see who clicked on it by email address. And you get a lot of great info about what you sent and use that going forward to say, if you send out a few in a row and you get a bunch of unsubscribed, boom, maybe you're sending out too many. You need to look at the stats and use that, again, in your market, in your situation to see what's best. Yeah?
How do you keep it from going into spam?
That's a few things there, mostly with the subject line, a little bit, the words you use in there, but a lot of it comes down to that's why you use these services, because in theory, they'll help keep you out of the spam. If you send it from your server or send out 500 from your Gmail account, that's going to get flagged more, whereas Google and them know, if they're coming from MailChimp, we know MailChimp has vetted them and they should be legit and send it out.
So does it matter how many you send out with MailChimp?
Not through MailChimp and stuff, no. That's the beauty of that, is they have those relationships. You send out a whole bunch through your, that's what Diana was talking about with her membership plugin to MailChimp. If you have a membership plugin on your site and you have 5,000 members and you send them all out from there, Gmail's going to say, ooh, this one web server sent out a ton of emails, something's fishy there, we might not want to let those go through. Whereas if you have to go through MailChimp, it's more legitimate and we'll get through more. But that's why MailChimp and these guys are hardcore. If someone clicks the report spam on one of your messages, they have a threshold of, I think, a fraction of a percent marked as spam before they disable your list and get you on the phone and say, you sent out 500 emails, but 6 of them said it was spam. I mean, they have tiny low numbers before they get upset at being marked as spam because they want to keep things legit. So you need to be real careful. And that comes down to how you add message people to your list. You know, if you had a whole bunch of business cards and just other lists you bought and said you're going to get a lot of people marking as spam, MailChimp's going to shut you down and you accomplish nothing. So.
And they also have a spam checker.
Okay, yes.
On there.
Yes.
So you click and it'll tell you the percentages of
Right.
whether or not you're spam.
Yeah. Lots of good tools in there for that, 'cause that's certainly the killer. I mean, very few people check their spam folders unless there's a reason that someone called and said there might be one in there. Otherwise, it's just chaos. If you go in spam, you're done. So they work hard to do. There's other tips on that, and again, it's not my area of expertise to know exactly what subject lines and stuff can matter. But I know things like exclamation points can sometimes throw it off. I'm guessing words like free not only mean I click, but that may give it another little red flag and different pieces like that. You can read there to see more about that.
Did you say that people don't check their spam folders and bulk folders?
Yeah, I'd say in general people don't.
Really? I have to check it all the time because I find the filters, they filter out relevant emails.
All right, how many of you check your spam folder once a week?
Every day.
At least once a week. So how many don't check it once a week? So probably 2/3 do. Okay, so yeah, but based on hands, you know. So I don't know the numbers on that, but
You don't check your spam?
I check my green melon spam because it gets maybe 4 or 5 a day. My personal Gmail, it gets about 1,000 a day, so I can't begin to check it. So I'll check it only if someone says, "Hey, I emailed you yesterday. What happened?" I'll go look it up. But yeah, so it depends. But yeah, if you go in spam, you're still going to miss a lot of them.
Right.
I'd say at the very least. One of the great things MailChimp has, some of the others don't. I think Constant Contact maybe they added this recently, but it's A/B testing, and this kind of points back to all the stuff we've been talking about. Really, my last big point too, and then we can get into any other questions and get into some food. But they have this A/B testing tool where in any of your campaigns you can say, send out 2 versions of it, you know, to split your audience in half, and send out 2 different versions. Let's see which one performs better. And you can split it based on subject lines or the from name, who your email is from. You can set one from Allie Green, one from Green Melon Media, see if it affects open rate. The content in it, the time it was sent. You can do multiple versions of a lot of different things and then measure and say, you know, we don't have to guess, you know, is it a clever subject line or a direct one better? Do one of each, run a test and see which one performs better. And this does some neat things too with it. You can say distribute those combinations to everyone or test on a percentage of recipients and then send to a winner. So you can say, take 40% of my list, split it out to those people, see which one performs better, and the better one, send that to the rest of the list so we can perform better. So in this case, 40%, so 20% will get one version, 20% will get the other version. Whichever one performs better based on the content, then the other 60% get the winning version. So they get the one that's going to be more effective and get more clicks and all that kind of stuff.
And you can actually set how long a period it waits to come up with a verdict.
Right, yeah, and down here, yeah, what metrics you've used to determine the winner by click rate after 4 hours. You can say, well, yeah, because yeah, it's amazing tools they have here. I don't know. I think this is part of the free package. I don't know for sure if anyone knows if you have to be a paid member to use that or not. I think it is, but again, their paid package is $10 a month, and it's one of those things. Even if you don't need the paid stuff, you know, I'd like to throw a company $10 if they make it affordable to help keep them going. So yeah, in this case, where was I going here? Yeah. Oh, the metric. So if we say we have different content, what does a winner look like? Does a winner mean they open it more, or they unsubscribe less, or they clicked on things more? So you can say down here, what metric should determine the winner? And so here, it's by click rate after 4 hours. So it'll send 20% here, 20% here, let people open them. Which one gets more clicks? That one did? Cool. Send all the rest that one because that one's better. You can use this going forward then too. If you do a couple of these and find, wow, clever subject lines really do work for me. You know, they shouldn't, but maybe they do, so start using that more often. Or you can send different times or different from names. You can use a lot of things where over the months you should get better and better open rates and better responses and better clicks and just be more successful in everything you do there. So, yeah.
It's also seasonal.
Yep.
Opening is seasonal. In the summer, people don't open as often.
Okay, so she's saying, yeah, in the summer people don't open as often as they do other times. That, yeah, depending who you're, and I think audience affects that a lot too. If you're emailing teachers and stuff, I mean, they may open more in the summer because they're home on their computers versus, you know, it varies a lot. Like Saturdays, I've heard, you get a lot lower open rates, a lot higher click rates. You know, the people that do open it are lounging around on a Saturday, so they'll click, but most people aren't checking their email at all. So depending on our audience, maybe it's great. Send on a Saturday because we need those extra clicks. Or no, we need people to open it. Let's send it on Tuesday instead. And that's where this can be great. You send it at different times and days to see what works better for you. Because any of these tips are great for all of us, but I mean it's going to be different in every case depending on your audience and age and size of your list and.
Is there a general? I mean, aside from that, like kind of just a general rule of thumb when to send emails.
If you Google it, you'll find pretty much every time articles that say every time is the best. I think midweek. I mean, I've researched that and I found a lot of articles that conclusively said all the different times depending on the article. So, what are you gonna say?
We use Tuesday and Wednesday after lunch.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say midweek is typically the best.
It'll also depend on whether it's a business email address or.
Correct. Business versus personal makes a difference. You know, if it's going to go to more personal addresses, maybe 6 in the evening will work best because people just get home and hey, you're at the top of their inbox now. A lot of the other stuff down there. Some people say Fridays work best because people are going to be trying to get their stuff cleaned up before they go home. I would expect it would be more open rates, probably fewer clicks because they're going to open it and say, oh, that's a cute email. I'll look at, so they've opened it, but they're trying to get through their emails, so they're not going to click around. But again, there's numbers. We can all guess and read articles and start with some best practices, but measure for yourself and see what's really going to work. See what really does work. This is, we'll talk about Google Analytics next month, and it's the same kind of thing we preach there. We can say this probably is going to make your site better. This will probably get people to click on your stuff more, but let's use the numbers and see what really happens. There's so much data out there for this. We don't need to guess too much, other than just the starting point. So that's basically what I had. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So Judy Knight's newsletter comes out every Wednesday.
Yep.
And it's irresistible. You always want to click to continue reading the story.
Correct. I always do, yes.
And I always do, and I'm thinking to myself, which came first? Did she post it first on her website and then somehow it connects to MailChimp, or did she create the email newsletter, MailChimp, and then link it to her website? I mean,
I would think almost, I don't know what she does for sure. I would say almost certainly though, she wrote the content on her site, filled out the whole thing, and then took a snippet of it, put it in MailChimp, and said read the rest on her website.
Just kind of copied a chunk of it, stuck it out of that.
Stuck it into MailChimp, yeah. And that way, if it's already published on the site, she can make sure the address is correct. You can get fancy with automating that, but then MailChimp might have a bad link in it, and it's just ugly.
So essentially, each issue of her newsletter is a blog post.
Correct, yeah. They are all blog posts. And I would assume 90% sure that she writes it, she may publish it that morning to not leak it out too early or whatever, but yeah. Publish the full thing on her site, take the first big snippet, stick it in MailChimp, say to finish reading, click here, and links that over to the blog post, and yeah, it works well. And she does, that's the impressive thing. Her posts are sizable and very helpful and very consistent. It's Wednesday morning without fail. It's impressive.
Is there an advantage? Let's say it's an average size email. Is there an advantage to saying read more, go to my website?
Maybe.
I guess the advantage would be that people would look at other things on your site.
Right, yeah. I mean, ideally you want to get into your site, but you may lose them too. There's some that are reading, and they click to read the rest, I'm like, I just want to see it here. I don't have time for that. And then I go away. So,
I'm not going to click more.
Yeah, there's some, Judy's, like Sue said, I typically click through Judy's and read it. Michael Hyatt is a big blogger that he started shortening all his blog feeds to only show partial stuff, so now I hardly ever read his stuff anymore. Because I'm going through my feed and I'm like, it's interesting, but I would have maybe read it all, but I don't have time to open my browser, and, especially on my phone. So, again, test it and kind of see, test it and see what works.
We're doing some research now on some mobile. Obviously omitted probably a whole big session. But
right, yeah, that could be.
We're doing some research now, and there's what would be considered a mobile-friendly email versus a mobile-responsive email. They're really two different things. And, so I'm just curious if anybody has, dove into that in producing mobile-friendly and or mobile-responsive emails.
Gotcha. And we've done some responsive, and it's tricky with mobile because you think Internet Explorer is bad, Outlook is.
Will you repeat?
Oh, sorry. Yes, talking about mobile emails, mobile-friendly versus mobile-responsive versus not caring about mobile at all. And the tricky part, any of you that develop websites know Internet Explorer is difficult to develop for. Outlook that renders emails is much, much worse. So it gets very messy to do that kind of thing. But there are, MailChimp does a nice job of helping you build those, and they are responsive. Others like Emma, very specifically, are not responsive. They say if you're going to do a custom one, do it in tables and just make it just block up. And so it's, we've not dug in super deep, but we do, when we build them by hand, we build them responsive, as long as we're not building it on Emma in that case. And it is tough. And personally, I still like typically to get plain text emails, especially on my phone. I'll sign up for those more often than HTML just because I know the snap in. I can read the content I want. I can click the links if I want. But Statistically, I'm in the minority there. I would have thought more people did, but numbers say when given the choice, almost everyone clicks the HTML. So that's where you want it to be friendly. And I don't know enough to really answer the question all the way down.
Yeah,
We'd have to
but like I said, we're just now researching that.
Yeah, we need to. We're in it, but not far enough.
And the cause wasn't a client had chosen Emma.
Okay.
So we're trying to work around that.
Yeah, and that's challenging. Yeah.
Question about video. Do you have a video you want to put in the email?
Okay.
Do you recommend putting it in the email so that they can interact right there, or having a click through that they have to click over to see it somewhere?
I'd like to hear other thoughts on that, but I think almost overwhelmingly it's you want to click through to somewhere else, because if you attach it or actually literally have it in the email, it becomes a ginormous email. And if you have it embedded from YouTube or some of those, a lot of clients will block that kind of stuff because it looks a little dangerous in an email client. So typically your best bet is to have like a screenshot from YouTube, so it looks like a video, has a little player button and all that, and they click it, it pops open either to YouTube or to your website or something like that. Yeah, 'cause most clients can't play email even if you want it, and then it breaks and it's ugly. Linda, did you have a question? You had your hand up a minute ago. Oh, sorry, she'd asked about videos and emails. Yeah, how to best handle those.
Well, MailChimp does have, like in their Wizzy Editor, a way that you can use a merge tag. I mean, and if you take the number of the video and pop it in, and it automatically generates that for you. But I'm not sure if you do it right there in your email client or if it takes you to.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know either. It'd be good to check out. That's a good point. I didn't realize they had that. So yeah, I'd be curious how that works as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to Jetpack, you said that you can have people subscribe to emails or your blogs. That's not linking to your email list then, right?
Correct. No, they're signing up for a separate little list through Jetpack that's handled by WordPress.com. And the one advantage to that versus other plugins, a lot of the Jetpack stuff, instead of using your server, they'll offload it to WordPress.com to their big server base, and that's one of those. They do that at least because I mentioned you don't.
Integrate that with MailChimp?
Nah, I don't think so. I think you'd really just replace it with MailChimp. Instead of doing that, do the MailChimp one instead. And there are ways, if you have started with one and want to switch, you can go in and get the list from one and import it to the other one. And I would feel pretty safe that if they've been getting your regular blog emails from Jetpack and you switch to MailChimp and they're getting your regular blog emails there, I don't think you'll have any spam issues or anything. So it should work okay. Anybody else? Cool. Carl, you want to draw a winner?
Yeah. Anybody else wants to?
You know, we have food in the back in the drawings. They're still hungry. Yeah, other cards.
And we'll have the video and the slides up today or tomorrow, probably today.
Cool.
We still have sandwiches and salads in the back and some really awful